Alright, hello everyone and welcome to WWE Discussion. I'm your host and WWE enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Monday Night Raw, July 17, 2023 edition. So Monday Night Raw is continuing forward on the road to SummerSlam 2023. This edition of the Red Brand featured some great wrestling and some excellent verbal clashes of top acts. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens would successfully defend the undisputed tag team championships. Cody Rhodes won Brock Lesnar, got a little bit more than he probably expected, but he also got the match at SummerSlam. That is official. Becky Lynch called out Trish Stratus and got her SummerSlam match on one condition, and that is that she beats Zoe Stark. That match will happen next week. Gunther would take on Matt Riddle in a Money in the Bank rematch for the IC title. Short but competitive rematch. Gunther retains, and afterwards he would call out Drew McIntyre. Next week those two go face to face, so perhaps the SummerSlam match between those two will be made official then. Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville took advantage of an injured Raquel Rodriguez and captured the women's tag team championships. Shinsuke Nakamura, well, he's frustrated by everybody interfering in his business, which is certainly understandable. And he kicked Tommaso Ciampa in the face after Ciampa cost him his match against Bronson Reed. Busy night for Raw, and one that continues the momentum of the show. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with Monday Night Raw being on a roll. So there is an argument to be made that Raw is the most consistent show on WWE television right now, and I would certainly agree with that. The Bloodline has been doing great things for Friday Night SmackDown, but it's been the only thing really that SmackDown has had going for it at this time. Meanwhile, the Red Brand is carried by a diverse roster of great performers that keep delivering quality matches in moments. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn delivered a memorable tag team title defense against the Judgment Day. Gunther makes every Intercontinental Championship match a must-watch. His latest title defense was a physical sprint against Matt Riddle. That was a dominant display from the champion. Alpha Academy and Viking Raiders have hopefully put an end to their feud in a Viking rules match that was certainly fun to watch. Shinsuke Nakamura and Bronson Reed put them in the ring, and they consistently deliver together. The women they didn't get much time in the ring this week, but they certainly made up for it with some great promo segments. Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus and Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler continue to cook. Liv Morgan made an impact by attacking Rhea Ripley in the main event. This was a night that highlighted what the Red Brand does best, relying upon its talented roster, making every moment count with no unnecessary filler. This is a trend that is sustainable. And as I mentioned before, we have new women's tag team champions, and hopefully these champions are here to stay. So this is certainly a question to be asked of every team that wins their women's tag team titles. Are there long-term plans? So for the first time in their WWE careers, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville have won championship gold. It's been a long road to success, but both have earned this opportunity, and credit to them for consistently finding new ways to stay relevant. You think about Sonya Deville going from a legitimate MMA fighter to a non-wrestling focused authority figure to a comedy role where she needed every advantage to pull off a victory. Then you look at just somebody like Chelsea Green, who broke her wrist in her SmackDown debut and was released from her contract during recovery, and since returning earlier this year, she has gotten over, despite minimal screen time, maximizing her minutes in a sort of Karen-esque role. Together, Green and Deville have rose up the ranks of the women's tag team division, going from a makeshift tag team to champions in a matter of months. And while some of this is because the division is relatively non-existent, it's also a testament to the work of these women over more established names. Now, Green and Deville will be the fifth new team to hold the women's tag team titles this year. That turnaround rate is, well, it's disappointing to say the least. I mean, it would be nice if there could be some consistency. And, you know, if you want to make an argument to stick with a team, stick with Green and Deville. They should stay together and face a variety of opponents. This could be a team that gives stability to the women's tag team division. However, like it always has been, it's up to WWE to follow through and remain consistently committed to this tag team, to the women's tag team division. I'm still not in favor of the women's tag team titles being a thing, but I'm very curious to see how this one plays out. And then Shinsuke Nakamura. Has he turned? Right move, wrong move, is it the time? So I see there's some debate about this as well. Nakamura, when he returned earlier this year, he returned to a familiar role, embracing the fan base with his signature swagger and also his theme song that fans love to sing along with. So playing the good guy, it's been a good role for him, and it's one that he could have stuck with. Fans, it's not like there was a need for him to turn. And instead he has turned due to recent frustrations. Now, here's where I'm still not entirely convinced that he has necessarily changed. I think, yeah, sure, you kick somebody like Ciampa, who's I guess considered a good guy. Oh, now he's a bad guy. I think Nakamura has a more valid point in that people have been interfering in his business. You think about the lead up to Money in the Bank, right? Ricochet interfering in his matchups, and then after Money in the Bank, now Tommaso Ciampa is interfering in a match. He certainly has a point to be made that people have been getting in his business, and he certainly has a right to be frustrated by that. Now, does that frustration mean he's turning bad guy? I don't know. But I'm very curious to see how this kind of plays out from here. I'm curious to see if there's a clear plan that will still allow him to stand out on his own. Hopefully there's some more clarity coming forward, because the last thing Nakamura needs is to get lost in the shuffle again, or have no direction or anything like that. So I'm curious to see how this one plays out. I'm not entirely convinced that he has necessarily turned. SummerSlam 2023. We got Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. We got Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, and so much more to come. These first two matches are when I checked the Wikipedia, are what are officially on the card, and we saw the announcement last night on Raw. We're gonna see more announced and coming up. So SummerSlam is the number 2 show for WWE every year. It's the only other show that's done in a stadium aside from the Saudi Arabia pay-per-views, which I think those are all stadium shows, but that's Saudi Arabia, that's kind of like a different thing. And we talk about in the States or anywhere else not Saudi Arabia, talk about like what premium live event it comes at is second to WrestleMania. That would be SummerSlam. It's a stadium show. Pretty much it's the only other premium live event that is a stadium show. And it's often booked with a similar degree of care to WrestleMania. This year, the card is shaping up nicely as a climax to a great stack of premium live events this spring and summer. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar 3 is official, and a stipulation will likely be added to ensure that this is a proper end to their feud. Becky Lynch will have to go through some hurdles. Mainly a hurdle and Zoe Stark to get a rematch with Trish Stratus, but those two are certain. But I think we all know that Stratus versus Lynch at SummerSlam is going to happen, and certainly I think this third match has the potential to be their best one. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler or is it their third match or second match? Third or second match, whichever one it is. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are cutting some of the best promos of their career, showing how much their match at SummerSlam means to them, especially since this is likely Ronda Rousey's final match in WWE. Rhea Ripley has a new opponent in Liv Morgan, someone who could certainly push her to her limits. That being said, I don't think Morgan's the one facing her at SummerSlam. It's probably Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, which, hey, I'm all for that. That is a great matchup right there. But Liv Morgan's a nice little... Well, I mean, I don't want to say this in an insulting way, but that's kind of what she is. She's just like a stopgap, essentially. But, it should still be a good title match. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre is a show stealer in the making. I'm honestly looking forward to it just to hear and see those two just chop the ever-living hell out of each other. That should be great. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Not exactly as excited about this match, but these guys, they know how to deliver in the ring, and they will certainly have something to prove in a grudge match. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, probably that's the main event right there. It's going to be a special one. While Raw will add some more matches to the card that would headline a smaller premium live event that does not have Roman Reigns competing in it. This is the kind of SummerSlam card that should get people talking. If these matches get the time and attention they deserve, there is no reason that this could stand amongst the all-time greats with dream matches across the board. So in conclusion, a hot crowd always makes a good show better, and the crowd this week in Atlanta, Georgia was certainly a great crowd. The women's tag team titles changing hand, probably the most shocking thing that happened on the show, but it's not all too surprising. WWE seemingly set up Ripley versus Rodriguez, and I guess, to kind of, make sure the women's tag team titles get proper focus, take the titles off Rodriguez, and so that way the women's tag team titles aren't kind of being forgotten about in this build up to a match between Rodriguez and Ripley, I guess, and that way, if that's their kind of thinking, that makes sense. Everything else seemed dedicated to setting up matches for SummerSlam. A handful of new belts or a couple of matches were confirmed for the premium live event with segments that varied in quality. Biggest addition to the card, probably Lesnar versus Rhodes. Alpha Academy and Viking Raiders might have had the best performance of the night from an entertainment standpoint. Certainly a very sports entertainment-esque kind of match. Still a fun one. Gunther versus Riddle definitely gave the crowd a good fight. All in all, strong episode for the Red brand, and hopefully the strength continues as we get closer to SummerSlam, which, as I talked about at the top, Raw's on a roll, so I don't see any reason why they're slowing down anytime soon, or I don't see any way that they do slow down anytime soon. Granted, it's certainly something they can do, but there's no reason to. And with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this episode of WWE Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.